that we will be getting an analysis from Professor under Duvenage, because tomorrow is D-Day for the Tlokwe by-elections. Prof, can you just give us a sense of, what is happening since tomorrow is D-Day?
Well, I think it is the most interesting by-elections, I would say, since about 1994. And my own assessment is that everything is depending on the outcome of the court decision. The electoral court are sitting today and we are expecting a decision. And if the electoral court is deciding in favor of the independent candidates, then we are most probably going to see a postponement of the election, at least in certain wards. And I think this will level the playing field. And then we are going to have a very interesting competition between the ANC, between the independent candidates, the DA and other opposition groups. What is critical is for opposition parties to get 4+1 of the ward seats. Then they can keep control of the Tlokwe municipality.
But then today special votes have started. What will postponement mean to processes that are already underway?
Well, my understanding is that if the election is going to be postponed, there need to be another opportunity for special votes, because there will be new candidates and the independent candidates will then be listed. But it is not sure if the independent candidates are going to compete. If they are excluded from the electoral process, then I'm expecting more or less a clean sweep from the side of the ANC. The ANC will definitely win the majority of seats in terms of the ward elections.
But the situation on the ground, we have seen over the weekend campaigning from all sides. Things seem to be continuing as though this election will actually take place.
I have no doubt that the emotions are running high and many people are expecting the election to take place. I think we can say that the decision of the court is going to be a 50-50 decision. We need to see and hear what precisely happened behind the scenes. Was there misconduct on the side of the IEC? It will be very unfortunate if this is the case, because we need a very strong and a very independent IEC to take us into the 2014 elections.
And can we then say that, it hangs in the balance?
At this point, it's definitely hanging in the balance. As I mentioned earlier, I think it is a 50-50 decision. If there's misconduct on the side of the IEC, it will definitely be to the benefit of the independent candidates. I think it is unfortunate if the independent candidates are not going to compete in the election, because we are definitely going to see a different result if the independent candidates are going to compete in the elections.
Going back to the issue of campaigning, there's been talk around that today we'll see Julius Malema coming through to the Tlokwe by-elections, and you've been saying that there is an invisible EFF, hand that is at play here. Can we say that is a sign of that hand really being visible and coming to the fore?
Without any doubt. On a macro level, we are in the phase of the reconfiguration of opposition politics. I believe the political playing field is changing at a fast rate, and without any doubt, the EFF and Julius Malema is playing a very important role. Some analysts are indicating that they may have double figures when it comes to support, and that is a support base which is basically working against the ANC and the traditional support base of the ANC. Secondly, we are looking at a DA that is becoming more and more competitive, even competing in Ikageng at this point, which was not the pattern in the past. So yes, politics in South Africa is changing, and I believe it will change till the 2014 elections.
And the ANC is bringing out a big gun too, Fikile Mbalula, former ANC Youth League president himself.
Quite interesting that possibly we are going to have two influential youth league leaders of the ANC in Potchefstroom, Tlokwe today. And that is an indication of the high profile of this particular election. My own assessment is that a win for the ANC is critical to restore their image, to define their strong position, to define the moral high ground building up to the 2014 elections.
What about the other parties? Because there's 5 political parties that are taking place in this by-elections and the independent candidates.
Well, I think if we talk about the Democratic Alliance, we are talking about a party with a relative solid support base, although not always that strong in the more township-orientated areas. When you talk about the UCDP, we know they experience a lot of internal problems over the last year. I do not believe that they are going to be a very strong factor. I think COPE support base is very limited, and we know that a party like the Freedom Front Plus is basically operating outside this particular area. So the main contest is going to be between the ANC and the independents, if the independents are going to compete. Otherwise, the main factors will be the ANC and the Democratic Alliance.
But one factor that seems to be coming out of all the parties is stopping the ANC.
That is one of the tendencies in the South African political environment at this point. There's a strong mobilization against the ANC, and this is coming from different sectors of the political spectrum, from the far left, also in terms of the middle ground, and also from the so-called right side of South African politics. And it seems as if these people are finding common ground against the ANC, and this must be one of the concerning signals for the ANC in the build-up to the 2014 elections.
Will we ever see a Tlokwe that is maybe back to normal, if there is such a thing?
Well, my own expectation at this point is that I think Tlokwe will never be precisely the same. I think the winds of change are blowing over Tlokwe, and depending if the ANC win, we are going to see patterns of instability. If the ANC is losing, we are looking at political instability. We are looking at a changing political landscape.
Thank you. That was Professor Andre Duvenage, a political analyst operating here in the Northwest Province. Back to the studio.